Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our February edition where we will be talking about love and relationships. I'm so excited to continue this conversation with you because love isn't just about romantic relationship. It's really about how we treat one another in every aspect of our life. So, last Sunday, we talked about loving your neighbor and the power of kindness. And today, I had a moment where it kind of just confirmed that for me because when I was in the grocery store, I was talking to this young lady and she was saying, I just feel like people don't really care about each other. Like we've forgotten about what, the Bible says about love your neighbor as yourself, and that we've lost our sense of consideration for others. And I know that she's probably not alone in feeling that way. And so before we dive into today's topic, I just wanted to challenge you to love your neighbor today, to be intentional, smile at someone, lend a helping hand, show some kindness, even when it's not expected. Let's just bring love back into our communities, because if I feel like it's needed for us to love our neighbor and somebody else that I met earlier today felt the same way, then I'm sure there are other people that would just be more receptive, and we could just spread kindness. Like the saying says, we could spread kindness like confetti where it's everywhere, and people just start to be kind to one another. So that would just be one of the things that could really make this world so much better if we just show kindness and love to one another. So this week, we're going to shift our focus to something that is deeply personal to me and to a lot of other people. We're going to talk about the relationship between parents and their children. And this is such a powerful yet complex relationship. It changes a lot over time. A lot of the relationships that we're in as we grow and mature, or different things happen in life, those relationships may change. But the dynamic between parent and child changes so much because your child is growing from birth and growing into adulthood, and you never stop feeling responsible or feeling like you're their parent. And then on the other side of it, when you're a child, it's like you start to grow and gain this independence. And then as your parents start to get older, they may start to have some challenges where they may become more childlike. And that can be difficult for a adult child, or even like a child, just seeing their parent going through some things. It can just become a lot to handle. So today we're just going to dive in a little bit, talk about parenting at different stages, and different stages require different things. And as children grow, their needs evolve. As parents age, our understanding of them also has a shift. It can create like a shift in our thinking, a shift in our expectations, and just can be really something that can really catch you by surprise. And as always, the core of our conversation is going to be mental health. Both parents and children experience challenges throughout life, and really is important within the dynamics of that relationship for them to understand each other emotionally. That is definitely a key to building a strong and loving bond with your mother, and a strong and loving bond with your child. Because when your child has mental health issues, it is important to be there for them and to understand what they're going through, but also still at times offer them challenges in a sense that to prepare them for the world and to try to help them through what's happening in their life as much as you can. So parenting isn't going to be a one size fits all. What works for a toddler won't work for a teenager, and what a young adult needs is different from what a child may need. So in those early years, maybe like 0 to 5 years old, we can focus on building a secure attachment and being consistent, having responsive care when our child gets hurt, helping them, soothing them, comforting them, and also establishing some predictable routines like dinner time routines, times when they eat throughout the day, nap time, bedtime routines, And just having the ability to implement routines and sticking to routines, this foundation really helps your child to develop resilience, and it also helps with their emotional regulation. These things are really essential for them to develop and to be healthy. And so childhood, maybe around like 6 to 12 years old, we can help to teach our child responsibility, because we're always going to be our child's first teacher. So we want to do things that will foster responsibility and self-discipline. We want to assign them age-appropriate tasks, like things that they can do. For instance, my son is 9, so he unloads the dishwasher. When he was younger, my older kids would they were little at the time too, but he's the youngest of them. And so when he was a baby, they would wash the bottles. And so during that 6 to 12-year-old phase, you can find things for them to do, help with the laundry, and they're not going to always do things perfect. You don't want to take things away from them, like just forget it, I'll do it, because of impatience, or they're not doing it right, because that could cause them to have like a complex. So we want to be able to lovingly guide them and help them through certain chores and tasks that we give them, and just allowing them the room to make mistakes and kind of learn on their own as well, and just being there to guide them. We want to also set clear boundaries for our children during this 6 to 12-year-old phase, so they can learn how to set boundaries for themselves, and other relationships that they start to form with their peers at school, with their teacher, coaches, and such. And we want to be able to have consistent structure, positive reinforcements. We want to use positive reinforcements to build self-esteem and to also foster their independence as well. And so when we think about the teen years, like 13 to 18, we want to be able to support their autonomy. We want to help to maintain open communication. I always tell my kids, like, there's nothing that you could ever tell me that I haven't seen, done, or heard. So I'm not going to, when you tell me something, act like, oh, super shocked, or like it's a brand new thing, or like, oh my goodness, I think that when our kids come to us and when they're vulnerable with us, even if it's something that we are disappointed about, if they create a space to talk to us about something, we want to be a listening ear to them, especially during this phase. In that initial conversation, when they're coming to you with a decision they've made or something they've done, especially if it's something that is against your morals or your values that you're teaching them, and you want to just be there in that initial conversation just to support them. And then maybe later on, after some time passes, you can come back and, just present your advice in a way where it's like, hey, how are you feeling about this decision you made? Can I offer you some advice? And don't be afraid to offer your children advice. Don't be afraid to uphold the standard that you have for them, but do it in a loving way that you are accepting them. You will allow them to have their own opinions. You respect their opinions. You want to set fair limits and encourage their self-expression, but that doesn't mean that your standard has to change or what you saw for them has to change. It's just that, okay, I respect the decision that you're making. However, you may feel a different way, and that's okay. You don't have to, because being a parent nowadays, it's just so different now, because a lot of times, even things that parents don't approve of, they're allowing their children to do it just for the sake of being friends with their kid. And you're a parent for a reason. And so setting boundaries with your kids is great. You also want to be able to do it in a way where you can create a balance where you're setting rules and boundaries for them, but you're also being loving toward them. And during this teen years of 13 to 18, just kind of start to create that shift where it's becoming more like they are learning how to make good decisions. So if a situation comes up at school or something happens with a friend, you can always ask them like, well, what do you think about that? How do you want to handle it? Do you know how to handle it? Because going into this, especially like when they turn 18, if they're going to move away from home or go to college, or it doesn't matter, even if they're going to stay home for a few years, the world is going to see them as an adult. And so they have to be able to make decisions. And if every opportunity that they have to make a decision, you take that from them, they won't have confidence that they can make decisions. And when people can make decisions for themselves, it helps to build their confidence. So even when they're smaller in those younger years, what they wear, how they want to decorate things, or what they want to eat for dinner. Sometimes you can have one day a week where they can make a choice. What you serve is what you serve every day, but like Wednesday is your day to pick something. What would you like to have? So they can become confident in making decisions. And then the young adult years, from 19 years old up, you want to transition to like a mentorship role, guidance to them without imposing. You want to be able to respect their independence, listen actively, and provide support as they make their own decisions. And so one of the greatest gifts that we can give our children is resilience and the ability to bounce back from challenges. I think the things that when I was growing up that we learned naturally that built resilience, kids don't have those opportunities. They don't play outside. They aren't as likely to go next door to the neighbor and play outside with their friends and ride their bikes for like a mile up the road or less or more. So they don't really have opportunities to kind of be on their own, make decisions for things to happen, where they feel like they can deal with various situations. They just don't have those same opportunities. So a lot of times now, the things that we got naturally, sometimes parents are like, my kids are so different from me, but they don't really have the opportunity that we had to naturally learn these things in an organic way. So how do you still instill these things in them? Well, you want to speak life into them. Words are going to shape their identity. You want to build confidence in your kid and tell them how amazing they are, but also to be truthful with them. So what does that look like? You don't want to be truthful, like where it's like, you're no good at that. You don't want to do that, but just asking them and exploring with them when they like something, why they like it. It helps to highlight their strengths and the things that they're really good at. So the things that they're not good at, or some things that maybe they're considered a weakness, if they want to talk about like improving those things. Because sometimes kids are like, I'm just not good at math. I'm just not good at spelling. I'm not good at writing. I'm not good at making friends. It's like, okay, well, you're not good at those things. So let's create a goal so you can start to improve in that area, because it's not okay to just say, I'm not good at something and leave it. You always want to try to get better and to work towards getting better at that. You want to allow them to struggle. You don't have to rescue them from every hardship if they don't make the team. Don't make allowances for them to get on the team, talk to the coach, and try to convince people to give them another chance. Let them learn to either get better at that thing, to try out again, help them to grow in adverse situations. Model strength for them, show them what perseverance looks like, teach them emotional intelligence. They are watching you, so they see how you handle situations, how you handle conflict, and help them name and manage their emotions. And so I think if you do those things, they would make a huge impact in your child's life, and you will see them to become more confident and more resilient. And so let's talk a little bit about the other side, what children owe their parents. And this isn't about obligation. It's just about honoring your parents and understanding your parents. As our parents age, their needs shift. So the people who raised us may now be in need of our patience, our love, and our care. And sometimes it's hard to understand them. So here are some things that you can do for your parents as they're starting to go into their next phase of life. You can listen to their stories, even if you've heard them before, because they just really long to be heard and to have companionship. You want to show grace. They won't always get it right. Sometimes they'll be angry because they don't feel good and their vision is dimming and they're going through all these changes and they don't have the energy that they used to, and they're forgetting things. And so you just want to show grace. You want to be present. Even a phone call can make a difference. And you just want to go visit sometime and just sit with them and never be too busy to be with your parent. And forgive them when it's needed. Healing the relationship benefits you just as much as it does them. And mental health is at the heart of this conversation. Parents' mental health and mental well-being affects how they raise their children. And so if you still have unresolved childhood trauma as a parent, you may want to seek professional counseling because you want to be able to be your best self mentally. And it doesn't mean that you'll get everything right with parenting. You're going to make mistakes as a parent because you're just learning. It's on the job training and it's serious. And so you're not going to be able to get everything right, but you do want to be in a place where you are mentally stable. And if you've had kids at a time where you feel like you weren't mentally stable, it's okay. There's always reconciliation. There is always an opportunity. I know people whose parents, when they were raising them, were just going through a lot of things and maybe weren't there and stuff. All those relationships can be healed. It just takes time, and it takes a willingness on both parties to be able to do that. And as children, understanding your parents' struggles can bring healing. So some ways that you can nurture the mental health side of the parent-child relationship is to encourage honest and open communication, break cycles of generational trauma, generational curses, seek therapy or counseling when needed. It's okay for you and your parent, if you're an adult, for you and your parent to have counseling together if there have been some really big, significant things that have happened that hinder you from moving forward in love and peace with your parent. You definitely want to seek therapy or counseling, and you want to give yourself and give your parent grace. There are going to be mistakes. Sometimes things are going to happen. Sometimes there may be a level of unforgiveness or tension in an area, and just give each other grace in those moments. So love is a lifelong process of understanding and showing up for one another. And whether you're a parent or a child, you can commit to nurturing these relationships with love, patience, and respect. I don't think that there's another relationship where you show up for each other as much as a mother shows up for her child, or a child loves their mother and will show up for them once their parent gets older and needs them. And so I love being a parent. And I want to do everything that I can to make my relationship with my kids a good relationship, a healthy relationship. And not having my mom here, it's like there are so many things that I still wish I could talk to her about. And so I challenge myself to just really, when little things go on with me and my kids, or misunderstandings, or they're mad at me, I'm like, let's talk about this, because I don't want this to linger, and I don't want it to be something later on in life where you feel like my mom was always this way and that way, and then it causes like division between us. I don't want that. I want us forever to love each other and be in each other's life for as long as I'm here. And so I just want to challenge you this week to just take some time to be there for your family, to strengthen the relationship that you have with your mother or your father, to strengthen the relationship that you have with your children. And so the challenge for this week is going to be to love your neighbor, love your family, and take one step toward healing or strengthening your relationship. And so I want to hear about all of the things that I talked about today in the comments. If you have something that you want to share related to love and relationships, I would love to hear it. You can put it in the comments here on my Instagram, or you can put it in the comments on Facebook. But I would just love to hear from you how you are going to love your neighbor, some things that you may have done for your neighbor this week or planning to do this week. And your neighbor is anybody, not just your next door neighbor, but anybody in your community, anybody at work, anybody, a stranger at the grocery store, any and everybody. And also just some things for your children, or some things for your parent that you want to do to heal or strengthen your relationship. And I just thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I hope you have a blessed and wonderful, happy, joyful, peaceful